My very first show was a wedding shower, and it was an absolute train wreck. I was horrible. There was dead air, and I was up there doing my recipe, and they're just all standing there looking at me. Have no idea what I'm doing. Terrified. My mom came and helped me, and she felt sorry for me along with everybody else. It was over a $700 show, so for our first show, that wasn't too bad. I think it was just because they felt sorry for me, or they really liked the bride either one. It doesn't matter. It turned out okay. So I went through a little while of doing shows like that, and then when Love taught us how to do the new show format, the very first show that I did with that style was amazing. We all had a great time. Everyone was laughing and playing with each other, making fun when they made mistakes, and it was just fun. I had a great time. I laughed the entire show. I don't know that I taught them anything because I was laughing at them. So we all had a really good time. I got bookings from that show because of that, I do believe. And I really, really like it. She was talking about, Love was talking about the people that are watching you at these shows. If someone was watching me my very first show, they're not going to sign up because they saw how horrible it was and that I was terrified and didn't have a clue. But now I tell them when I do this show and I start my recruiting talk, I say, you see how hard I'm working? And they all just stare at me because they know I haven't done anything other than tell them what to do. So it's really been a positive change in my shows that I do. And I don't know that I'll ever go back to the old show format. I really don't. I think it's just been great. One of my consultants, my mom did eventually sign up. I don't know if she just felt sorry for me or what, but she signed up, and she's doing shows, and she works full-time. She's paralegal, and she works full-time, and she also takes care of my grandmother, who has early dementia, so she really has her hands full. So by the time she gets home and does all that, and then she has a show, she's tired. She's really tired, and it just wipes her out. So the thought of getting up there and doing a demo herself for 45 minutes while people sit there and look at you just was not appealing to her. It made her anxious. She felt like she was on the spot. But now that she's doing this new station style format, the pressure's off because she doesn't really have to be on the spot anymore. The guests are having fun, so it's a positive thing for the guests because they're having more fun. For the potential recruits that are in the room because they see how doable it really can be. And for me, because it's easier. So I love it. I really won't change it at all.
Thank you, Kim. And time again, I've heard my consultants say how much easier this show was, how much more fun it was, how much earlier they got home in the evening. So that just kind of gives you an overview of what the show looks like and why I decided to change the show. And our team's having a really good time with it. And I know that I won't go back to my traditional show because this is so much more fun. But we have just a few minutes left, and I know I can't answer a ton of questions, but I want to know if maybe if you haven't experienced the show, maybe there's some part of it you're not getting or don't quite know. Is there anybody? Maybe I could take about 3 questions to make sure I answer what y'all want to know. Yes? Yes, thank you. That is a very good clarifying question. Okay, don't let them eat until you're done with your show. Okay, that is the best way to lose your crowd is to feed them, okay? So what we do is start in the kitchen, and I say, you know, have you guys been to a Paper Chef show before, or who's never been to a show? This might be a little different than what you've been to before. This is a totally hands-on show, and you guys are going to get to try out all the tools instead of watch me use them tonight. And we're going to go ahead and get started, and I do a little bit of a station walkthrough, and what that would sound like is, okay, over here we're going to be making us some Morris cake tonight in our rock crock. You guys can come over here. Whoever is our bakers in the room, you might want to jump on this station. And we're doing a devil's food cake with marshmallows. And I just kind of give a brief overview of what we're doing. With that station, there's not really a tool I need to teach how to use, but like with the pepper party, I do teach the simple slicer real quick, just how to put the food in there and they need to attach it, because you don't want anybody to get hurt. So if you're using the wedger, the mandolin, I do show how to operate the gravity-activated tongs, the chef's tongs. A couple things like that they need to know before they jump in. They don't need to know how to use a whisk or a spatula or a knife or a cutting board. They've got that. But there are a few of our tools that need a little explanation. So I kind of show, maybe I'm highlighting 2 to 4 tools, depending on what recipe it is. So then I just say, y'all go ahead and just jump around whichever recipe you want to be a part of. And if you want to walk over to another station and see what's going on, by all means, jump in there. And so I just walk up to that station and say, I need a volunteer. This will be the easiest job of the evening. Great. Cindy, you're going to be my recipe reader. And hand her the recipe and say, these are your instructions. Just keep everybody in task here. Y'all can go ahead and get started. And I walk off. One recipe reader per station. Sometimes that is per recipe. It really depends on, like, if I've done this with like 30 people at a show, and so I needed to divide the recipes a little more because I didn't want 14 people in a group. So you want it to be smaller groups. So it's one recipe reader per recipe or per station, depending on if you break that recipe in smaller stations. So they cook and get everything cooking to the stopping point that it's on the stove or in the microwave or in the oven. Then we go sit down, and they are done cooking. They're done with their part with the station. Food is cooking. The host usually is overseeing whatever might still need to be stirred or moved in or out of the microwave or whatever. And then that's when we sit down, I pass out the catalog, and that's when we go through the sharing part. And if somebody's sharing about a particular tool and somebody didn't get to use it, we look, I have them tell what page it's on. It's still out on the counter, they can go see it. So it's really them teaching and sharing about the products at that point. And then we move to bookings and the recruiting part and the close of the show. Yes? I've sold a lot of double burner grill pans at the show. So I would say that it's increased or stayed the same. My show average is still the same this year as it was all of 2013 for last year. So great question. However, bookings, last year I went and did the math and I averaged 2 bookings per show last year. And with the station style shows I've done this year, I have averaged almost every show, 3 to 6 bookings, average 4 bookings per show with the station style show.
So if they have a really small house or small kitchen, I live in California, and that happens a lot.
And it happens a lot where I live too.
So, I mean, how do you...
I just...
You got like 15 people, and it's really small, but how do you do that?
The exact same way we did our old show, or the exact same way I did my old show. I mean, even with the traditional show, it was always, an obstacle. If it was a small place, where are you going to put your demo table out? How is everybody going to fit in the kitchen? How are they going to see you? So, like, I've had some shows where like one lady's house, all she had was like a bar up against the wall with her kitchen, and then her little stove right here. No kitchenette, no kitchen table, no center island. There was that, and it was all decorated with lots of stuff. And then you had to go through the den into her front sunroom to get to her kitchen table, which was a 4-person kitchen table. So we did one station at the front of the house and one station in the kitchen. And I literally just had the guests, after I showed what we were doing in the kitchen, had the guests follow me through the house to the front sunroom, and we did that station in there, and then they just split up, and then we all came back in the den and talked afterwards. So you can make it work however you need to. And sometimes they're cramped and little counters and stuff, but it's fun. That's the fun part. And maybe one more question? Yes?
If you are doing a recipe that you're breaking up into stations, do you just get a copy of the recipe and circle their part, or what?
Great question. She asked what you do when you get a recipe to tell them what parts they do. I didn't put a whole lot of work into this part, so I just printed the recipe off from the Season's Best Cookbook, kind of blew it up a little bit, and highlighted the part that station does. And I would just, so if the grill party sandwich was scheduled in 2 different stations, I would just hand Cindy our recipe and say, your group is in charge of the highlighted part on your sheet. So I made it really simple. I didn't like make out cards and stuff, just made it really simple. But like with the fajitas and the salad shows, I have done those a little more in stations, and they didn't have a whole recipe, and I just printed out what they do in their station. You know, their station's the salad spinner or whatever it was, because like a salad recipe is kind of broken down in more stations. So for that, I had to do that. So, okay, one more question.
I'm sorry, I'm a brand new consultant. I have not actually done my first show.
And you're at conference.
So for this station style, because my grand opening was done, I think the traditional format, for the station style, what would you recommend to a new consultant recipe that they should do with the new consultant, not the big kit?
Any recipe that is in the Season's Best Cookbook, I believe it's the last recipe in each section is a new consultant recipe for your kit. And any of those would be great to do. And you could use that exact recipe to divide into your stations and highlight what they need to do at their station if you break it down. But that would be perfect. Well, thank y'all very much.